Hi everyone, Jessica Sublette here. Tonight we're going to be talking about AI and communication, and I think I've got a pretty great presentation for you going. So we will go ahead and get started, and I'm going to share my screen and get my presentation loaded here for you. So we are going to be talking about bringing AI, non-human agents into communication. And with that, I wanted to first recap a little bit of what we learned this week. So we learned more about human machine communications. Historically, communication has been predominantly human to human, not so much thinking of it as human to machine communication. So that is one of the major highlights in our readings. Another piece of that is seeing machines as an interactive source, not just to humans, but to each other, to like a mass audience, and it could be positive or negative. So one of the positive things they talked about was, reliving wonderful, momentous occasions, kind of in that moment. I was thinking a lot of like the metaverse and that, right, being able to really interact with that source. And then maybe one of the more negative things is being able to relive some of those things or having to experience some of those things through AI or through the machine world. And one of the things they mentioned was, the Holocaust. If we are having to be a part of that, does that make that grieving process really part of everyone's process, even if you weren't there and living it the first time, through it. So something to consider in that sense, that it could be positive or a negative impact, whether, intentional or not. And then one of the final things, the key takeaways that I had from this week's readings was perceptions about robot interaction. So, what do people think of interacting with machines right now? Are they comfortable with it? Do they enjoy it? What does that look like? And again, positive or negative, and thinking about the future and as these things continue to develop, that we're going to have to probably, this is going to be part of more of our everyday lives. So if you have any small children or you watch small children or babysit small children, this is part of my life now. So all week when I was reading, I kept hearing the word robot, robot, robot. And there's this kid song. And of course, I play the kid songs now that I have the baby. Blippy, if you're not familiar with Blippy, that's my picture. He is one of he's, the Wiggles, the Care Bears, the Teletubbies, all that. Like he's one of the current like popular kid shows. And he's like a YouTube channel. Anyway, so he has a song like "Do the Little Robot," and so just all week, that's all I was singing to myself. So, but of course, then I looked into it because I was like, oh, I want to know more about this. Just like maybe I can put a fun jingle from it on my slide. And then, of course, I went down my rabbit hole, and he actually has a video. One of his, learning videos online is with one of these robots. So I actually thought it was really interesting. I'm not gonna play the whole video. I don't want anyone to I better share my desktop there. I'm not trying to cause anyone grief. I just want to show you this one little piece, and it's gonna show my ads. Okay, so I just want to skip here. And the reason that I want to show you this is because, okay, here he is playing with the robot. Because, okay, I'll let it, I won't talk over the music here.
It's a real life robot! Hi, I'm Blippy. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Hans.
Whoa! Did you hear that? Hi, Hans. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, this is my life.
Hey, maybe we can ask Hans a question. Hans, would you like to be our friend?
I know.
Hey, did you see that? Hans did a little dance.
He goes, yeah, I
See
want to be your
that?
friend.
Yeah. Hans put out his hand and he motioned for us to go with him. I bet Hans has somewhere fun to take us.
Okay, and then they go and they eat their healthy snacks.
Looks like there's some healthy.
And anyway, so the point of me showing you this, I promised there was a point, is sorry, I just want to get my PowerPoint pulled back up. The idea that, I, or, someone my age or older may not be right now comfortable with the idea of interacting with a robot, but now we're already training, kind of the next generation, and for them to see like, oh, this is like a normal interaction. Like for a kid, I think of like my daughter's a little young right now, but a 5-year-old, whatever. Oh yeah, like I can talk to a robot. Like that's no big deal, right? So, and the one later on in the video, he's even assigning please and thank you to the robot and all that. So I just thought that was an interesting piece of kind of that humanizing, right? That character. So today we are going to be talking about the article that I found is about death of the library. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the article I found, but that's my theme of the week. I had my little flames last time, so the theme today is death of the library. So you've got your spinning wheel of death if you're a Mac user, just a loading sign, RIP library. So with that, a lot of times we think of the traditional library. And I love this picture from UCF campus, 1967. If you don't know, fun fact, UCF library, well, and it was FTU at the time, Florida Technological University. But anyway, we're just going to go with UCF because it's easier. The library was the first academic building ever built on the campus. So it looks like you could drive up to it even. So it's just crazy to think about how much UCF has grown in its short life. But so when we think about the traditional library, right, we've got hopefully a friendly librarian, maybe if you're lucky. But generally, right, they are and have been, can be subject matter experts in certain fields. Maybe if you're from a small town and like Linda, the librarian, plays bridge with your mom on Tuesdays, like maybe they're not, but you, at least in the bigger cities, like at UCF library, right, we've got subject matter experts in each field that you can reach out to. So that would be more of a traditional library service. You've got books, encyclopedias. I know that was always my favorite thing when I was a kid going to the library. I wanted to flip through the encyclopedia pages. You've got atlases. You historically, right, had public computers to be able to access things. Obviously libraries are much older than computers, but like in that phase where people didn't always have access to an at-home computer, they could go to the library and maybe access those as well. You would have a bit availability of study spaces, group or individual. And then I don't know, I mean, maybe like, what do you use them for now? Like these days you don't need a pay phone. So maybe like, I don't know, maybe they do like AA meetings at libraries. Like I was trying to come up with like what else would you have used the library for back in the day, right? Like I don't know, like, oh, I just remembered we used to have our Girl Scout meetings at the library. There you go. So yeah, so group meetings, things like that. So those would be maybe more of the traditional community like library services. So now that everyone has a computer in their hand, books accessible online everywhere you go, you can always be friendly with your librarian, but you don't necessarily need one anymore. What else is there? Like that's it. The library is dead, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Obviously not, because I want my A, so I need to, keep going for 20 minutes. Also, we have to talk about my article. So the library is not dead. That is my argument tonight. And I came up with this on my own, and I'm very proud of it. So we are the library AI library. I'm gonna get that trademarked or something, copyrighted. It is the birth of the library, right? So that is what I am hoping to encourage and get you all excited about, is kind of this rising from the ashes, kind of this somewhat seen as being a dead resource, or not being relevant anymore. Well, the library AI is very relevant, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit more about how and the ways in which we are bringing libraries into that human machine communication world. So yes, humor me, please. Okay, so the library, I really came up with that on my own. I'm very proud of it, of the future. So chatbots are more common now on library websites. According to one of the articles that I found, the first, known instance of a chatbot on a library website is around 2010, and it was actually one in Europe. So interesting. Things you might also know about, right, that you would see in a modern day library. You may or may not be familiar with the interlibrary loan. That is a service and that we specifically have at UCF, where other state libraries share books, share references, and you're able to request and access those through one another. So that's one option, one way in which it's a more modernized digital transformation. The UCF Automated Retrieval Center, if you're not familiar with this, it's really cool. And if I have enough time, yes, okay, I want to show you the video because it's really cool. And then machines allowing humans to have more interpersonal communication. So because of that, because we're doing that, we are able to free up resources like space and time for other important needs. So I want to show you this arc if you haven't seen it. It is phenomenal, and you can't like see it when you go to the library, but you can see it right here.
The Automatic Retrieval Center, or ARC, is an integral part of the new 21st Century Library project at UCF. The ARC provides compact storage
look
and
at how
access to
crazy
materials
big that is. I think
used in the ARC
that's on the
facility.
campus. That's in the library.
It will have the capacity to store 1.25 million books on site, while still allowing quick and easy access to materials via our library catalog. Storage of print materials in the ARC will free up library space to make room for increased seating for our students.
And so this phase is already done.
increased
That's
number
now the
of
main
study
floor if you've been
wide
through the
study
library
areas.
recently.
The top floor of the ARC will feature a 231-seat reading room, abundance of natural light. Requesting an item is quick and easy. To start, search the catalog for the items you want. Once found, click the request link. Sign in with your NID and NID password to place your request.
So then it shows, that it's in the library out here. Oh, you got to see it going. It's really cool. Is it frozen? Yes, it's frozen.
By the ARC, the storage and retrieval machines, or SRMs, will automatically go out to retrieve the bin containing the requested item.
That's so cool.
The SRM pulls the bin from the rack and delivers it to the workstation. A library staff member will then find the requested item in the bin and scan the barcode to let the system know that the item has been removed from the ARC.
And then they
receipt is
collect
printed with the
it.
patron's name.
Oh, and then this is great. Here.
Notify the patron
Student gets
that the item
a
has
text
arrived
email.
from
Oh,
the
hold
ARC
on, I
and is
got my
available
library
for
books
pickup.
available.
The item is placed on the hold shelf,
So it's
where
fun.
it will remain until the patron
And
comes.
then the person comes and picks it up, and then they can return it, and then it goes right back in. They bring it back here to the little dungeon lab.
Items are stored according to book height. A matching size bin with
Book height.
available space is retrieved
This is
by
how
the
they're
SRM.
organized. It's
The
really
book
cool.
is scanned, allowing the system
So.
to assign the item to a new location.
I think that's awesome. It go back to my presentation here. That part of it is not right. That's not necessarily the AI part of it. That's more of like the physical machine robot. But I think it's important to point out that all of these functions, and again, specifically, we're going to continue on to focus on the chatbot here, but all of these functions are digital transformations that are going to keep libraries relevant and really just, I think, community centers, not as much like a place where there's just stacks of books. So very cool. So the article that we're going through tonight is titled Implementing a Chatbot on a Library Website. So this article is really a qualitative and investigative case study, and it's through the Journal of Web Librarianship. There's a journal for everything. Published this year, so that's why I also was excited about it because it's very recent. The authors Ephranis and DeLooper, and it's about Lemon College, Lemon, which is part of the CUNY system, which is the City University of New York. If you're not familiar, they have about 15,000 students, so it's a fairly decent sized institution. Of course, there's a picture of it right there. I don't understand New York. Like I don't know how that's in New York City. Kind of, it's in the Bronx. New York, I don't understand it at all, but it's beautiful. I mean, it looks gorgeous, right? It's like a traditional looking school, just very pretty. So the highlights of our article, it was the chatbot system called Ivy, is built predominantly for higher ed institutions. So this implementation at Lemon College was a college-wide implementation. So it wasn't just the library taking this on its own. It was the college, wide IT said, hey, we want to take this on. So they did it for like the student affairs, the registrar, for certain offices, financial aid, and then they also implemented it in the library website as well. So they had 3 goals for implementation at the library. So one, they wanted to successfully answer basic questions from the website. They wanted to reveal search topics. What are students searching for? What do they want to know more about? And they wanted this to be an additional access point for basic questions so that librarians could have more free time for more sophisticated questions. And I just included the website in case you want to go later and check that out, the Ivy chatbot system. So benefits to this system, like I just said, freeing up librarians so they can do more of those research heavy questions. Actually 24/7 access for students, right? They want the students to be able to come in and ask a question whenever they want. Again, this was centralized, which is in my experience in higher ed a benefit because it's going to allow you to have more resources at that point. And then they were able to answer library reference questions. So like wanting to know more about references or where to reference items that they didn't necessarily think the chatbot was going to be able to answer. So that was like a huge goal that they were able to achieve. That they didn't have at the start, and it achieved what it set out to achieve. So they were able to accomplish those 3 goals, and additionally able to get some other more sophisticated questions answered. So this is the chatbot. I just think it's so cute. Lemon lightning bolt, because their mascot is the lightning bug. Lightning bot. I think of the Tampa Bay Lightning being the lightning bolts. So the lightning bot, because they are the lightning bugs. So I think that's cute. And I was like, we gotta go check out what it looks like. So it's still here, which is a good sign. They haven't gotten rid of it yet. So, it's just like any other chat bot that you would see these days, pretty much on a website. So it comes up, he's our virtual assistant. How can you help? I thought it was cute. If it can't answer your question, it says like, oh, you stumped me. And I just think it's adorable. So anyway, that is the chatbot and it's still up and running today. So overall, it was good. I do have, of course, a few critiques. So this one is not so much with the chatbot. We'll get into those. But one of our articles mentions that the NCA defines communication on how people use messages to generate meanings. And that was a fairly recent article as well, but I was like, maybe because, we are trying to move more into this digital age. I was like, maybe they've updated it. No, this is still I took this directly from the website this week. I was like, are you kidding me? So I do wonder if that'll be, so it's just a critique of our field right now. I do wonder if that'll be updated and maybe there'll be focus groups or something in the near future at some of the upcoming conferences to try to move to change that, to alter it, that language. So be curious to follow that and see what happens. So in terms of the article itself, so I I like the idea of chatbots, but I personally, I think they have a long way to go, and we need to get to a place where people are comfortable talking to them like humans. Because I know whenever I get a call and it's like, oh, you can talk to me like a human, like I am, and I got one of those pretty recently. I had one where it was like, I'm a robot, but you can talk to me like your friend, but is basically what it said, and I was like, I still didn't do it. I was like, representative. Like I'm still doing that because I'm like, I just know, right? It's not advanced enough to, because my question is not like, when are you open? Like it's a complicated question. So I know I have to explain it to someone. So one, they need to become more advanced. And two, we also have to get people more comfortable working and talking with these things, machines, the things. Okay. So just a couple more notes here. I was like kind of disappointed in Lemon College. They actually have a 24/7 librarian chat. So these people are up in the middle of the night, just like talking to students. And the librarians were complaining that students were confused between the chatbot and the librarian chat. And I'm like, duh, like it's a 24, they're both 24/7 chats. Of course, people are going to be confused. Like it's not obvious to people who aren't in it. Like I'm an average college student probably doesn't know the difference between those two chats. So I was like, I was critiquing their critique. I was like, are you guys serious? Like, of course they don't know the difference. Okay. So I think if they have a 24/7 librarian chat, they probably either can do away with that or they don't need the chat bot. So library should add more reinforcement about what chatbot is and how it works. That was something they said that they wanted in kind of that initial chatbot message, because they said students didn't understand like that you could only basically ask it at this point, what are your hours? Where do I find this? Blah, blah, blah. So I my critique is that I don't think the chatbot or the library website is the right place or time to be doing that. I think that's something that just needs to come with kind of a cultural shift in digital transformations, or transitions, I should say. So I had like mixed feelings about their comment. Licensing issues with campus instances. Okay, so the IV system can only have 5 pages with the chatbot, essentially. So only 5 offices on campus could have this chatbot. However, other offices can individually purchase their own license. And so we actually kind of have something like that at UCF. Our undergraduate and graduate admissions, we use the same system. It's called Slate. So that's where you all applied to be in the program, but we operate separately. We are not a combined instance. So none of the information, talks, it doesn't share information. And that was one of their complaints was, well, we can't share this information with this other office because we're on separate. So it's just kind of a critique of the entire system. Like the chatbot either needs to be able to expand, or the institution itself needs to come up with their own maybe like ways of being able to circumvent that. Just better navigation there is encouraged. And it can only source 5 pages. That was the other issue with this system. So but then I was like, I don't know how the internet works. So couldn't you have though like a hidden web page in the background with like all the content? I don't know. I'm not advanced enough, but I feel like that's possible. So they were like, well, it can only have 5 pages that it can search. I'm like, well, couldn't you just put all of your necessary info in there? So in one hidden page, anyway. And then they were saying the accordion elements made it difficult because I think it wasn't as easy for it to search like the drop down menus. So we have our own chat at the UCF library website, but it is only certain hours, right? So they're open, certain hours of the day. So we have similar to this librarian chat. Ours just isn't 24/7. I've used it several times. I mean, it's a real person on the other end, so I've never had any issues with it. So it's just interesting. Like again, maybe that school doesn't need it. So something for them to consider. So today, to recap, we looked at a multitude of ways that you can transform your communication work into a digital fashion, right? So, not necessarily just AI, but there's all kinds of other ways that we can work toward an inclusive digital communication system. And then things that may be dead may still have a chance. So, don't count them out just yet. My library, my very clever invention of the library. And then we looked at our example of the library chatbot system. Overall, they said it was a great implementation. They liked it. They just, wanted maybe to see. They just had those few critiques. But again, I think for kind of their first time doing it, those were some pretty, standard. I would say like nothing was egregious on their like limitations of what they experienced. So, and then finally, we are going to look at my guide for your digital transformation, your digital transition. So, there's my citations, and I'll post all this obviously, but now I wanted to go show you our digital transformation guide. So this is the last thing we're going through here. This is the little guide I created for you to be able to look at considerations and a little checklist as a starting point. This is not all inclusive. So if you take this to your company, I don't want you to, get fired of it. So remember, it's just a guide, just a starting point. But so some considerations for you. So your digital transformation framework. These are some things to consider, right? How are you going to use the technology? What kind of value is it going to add? What kind of structural changes is it going to affect or do you need? And then what are the financial implications of this, right? So I created some of these, or I created all of these. Some questions here for you to think about. So how will this impact your available resources? Who's going to manage this? And is there an expert or a point of contact on this project? What legal requirements do you have to follow? Now that I work in our research for UCF, I'm always thinking about that. Who has the authority to approve this purchase or implementation or sign on behalf of the organization? And then what is the benefit to your stakeholders? Is there a value add, right? I mean, looking at this library chatbot at Lemon, I just don't see a ton of value add. They had good numbers and everything, but they already have a 24/7 librarian chat. So I personally didn't think there was enough of a value add, especially if there was a limited number of instances for the institution. They could have put another department on there that maybe needed it more. So something for them to consider. And then what happens if this doesn't work or if it has a negative impact? How is the organization going to recover? So here's your mini getting started checklist, right? So schedule biweekly meetings, implementation meetings, planning meetings with the key players who is working on this project, who needs to be in the know. Benchmark what your competitors are or are not doing. Set aside or source funding. If you need to go out and get that funding, do that for budget needs. Hire any personnel. Do you need a new IT expert? Do you need to hire an organization, right? Whoever you need to hire or get on board. Acquire all your legal approvals. And then one other thing that I want to point out is making sure you're following website accessibility guidelines for when you are working on your digital transformation. So I included the link here. This is a pretty large board of approval for accessibility guidelines on the website. So it's one of the major known organizations for that. And then finally, here are my references. I added this one in because this little guide comes from them. So again, this has been our look at AI and how you can transform your workplace or your organization or your work. Excuse me. Almost made it all the way through without coughing. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to post all of this obviously on the page, and I hope you enjoy. Bye.